The alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. Its hull shimmered with strange metals unknown to human science.
World leaders gathered quickly as messages beamed down in all Earth languages at once.
"We are the Galactic Concord," the transmission stated.
"Your species has achieved sufficient technology to warrant contact." Within days, the first meeting was set at the United Nations headquarters in New York.
Commander Park Ji-ho represented Earth's combined military forces.
A career officer with 30 years of service, Park had been chosen for his calm demeanor and sharp mind. The aliens called themselves the Karathi. Their ambassador stood over 7 feet tall with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His name was impossible to pronounce in human languages, so he accepted the designation ambassador first. "Your development of faster-than-light communication signals drew our attention," Ambassador first explained. "Few species achieve this without guidance." Park nodded politely but noticed the condescending tone. The aliens spoke as if addressing clever children. "We wish to establish formal relations with your world," the ambassador continued. "Earth will be classified as a Category 3 civilization under Concord protection."
"And what exactly does Category 3 mean?"
Park asked.
The alien hesitated.
"It means you have achieved technological awareness but require guidance and oversight."
After the initial meeting, Park met with Admiral Kim Soo-min in a secure room beneath the UN building.
Kim had watched everything through a video feed. "They're hiding something," Kim said immediately.
"Did you notice how they avoided questions about other species in this sector?" Park nodded.
"And they were too interested in our resource operations in the asteroid belt." "My analysts think they're at war," Kim said, sliding a tablet across the table. The screen showed intercepted communications between Concord ships. These transmissions mentioned containment failure and rim defenses repeatedly. Over the next week, more Concord ships arrived. They offered limited technology exchanges, medical advancements, and improved energy systems, but nothing that could be used for defense. Earth's nations, normally divided by old rivalries, found common purpose in the face of this new development. An emergency summit in Geneva brought together powers that hadn't cooperated in decades. "They classify us as barely worth notice," President Kong told the assembly. "Yet they rush to establish bases in our system and monitor our communications."
The summit established the Earth Defense Initiative, a unified approach to humanity's new reality. If the aliens wouldn't treat them as equals, humans would need to prove their worth. Park and Kim were appointed to lead the military and research branches of the initiative. Their first priority was understanding Concord technology. Each diplomatic gift was thoroughly studied and reverse-engineered. 3 months after first contact, the truth emerged.
A junior officer on a Concord vessel befriended engineer Lee Hanna during a cultural exchange.
After too many glasses of something resembling wine, he revealed the reality.
"The void hegemony broke through the outer defenses last cycle," he said quietly.
"Half our fleet is engaged beyond the Rigel sector." Lee reported this information immediately.
The Concord wasn't just making friendly contact, they were establishing buffer zones and resource extraction points for a war they were potentially losing.
Park presented these findings to Earth's Unified Council.
"They don't see us as allies," he explained. "They see us as either a resource or, at best, a minor outpost they can afford to lose."
President Kong studied the reports.
"Then we must become something they cannot afford to lose." The decision was made in secret. Earth would accept Concord protection and guidance publicly while privately preparing something that would change their status forever. "If they want our resources," Admiral Kim said, "let's show them what humans can build with them."
Project Olympus began deep in the asteroid belt, far from Concord observation posts.
The aliens, confident in their technological superiority, never bothered to monitor what they considered primitive mining operations.
Commander Park watched the initial construction plans unfold on secure channels. "How long will this take?"
5 years at minimum, Engineer Lee replied. "We're talking about technology we've only begun to understand, scaled up to dimensions never attempted."
Park nodded.
"The Concord thinks in centuries. We'll surprise them in half a decade." As the meeting ended, news arrived that another Concorde fleet had suffered heavy losses against the mysterious enemy at the galaxy's edge. The aliens were losing their war, but they had yet to realize that their biggest surprise wasn't their enemy but their newest, protected species. The construction site inside asteroid B775 was a hive of activity. Workers in spacesuits moved along the skeleton of something massive. Engineer Lee Hanna floated near what would become the command center of humanity's greatest project. Status report, Lee called through her comm unit. Hull sections 15 through 42 are complete, responded Technician Beck. The internal gravity systems are being installed now. 3 years had passed since first contact. Earth officially welcomed Concorde advisors in technology, while secretly preparing for a future where humans would stand as equals. Project Olympus operated in the shadow of normal mining operations, with her shipments cleverly disguising the massive resources being diverted. Lee pushed off a support beam and glided toward the central planning hub. Inside, Admiral Kim Soo-min studied holographic designs with General Yoon Tae-ho. The Concorde ambassador asked again about our increased mining operations, General Yoon said as Lee entered.
Admiral Kim nodded.
I told him we're building more colonies on Mars. They believe we're still decades away from efficient space manufacturing.
Lee activated the main display, showing a massive ship taking shape. We've solved the power distribution problem. By redesigning the Concorde energy conduits, we've improved efficiency by nearly 40%. Can they detect these modifications? Kim asked.
No, Lee replied confidently.
They gave us what they considered basic technology. They never imagined we would improve it so quickly. What the Concorde didn't understand about humans was their ability to innovate when pressed. Given pieces of advanced technology, Earth's scientists didn't simply copy, they questioned, improved, and reimagined. 5 kilometers of reinforced hull now stretched through the hollowed asteroid. The ship would be the largest vessel humans had ever built, dwarfing even the Concorde cruisers that occasionally patrolled the solar system. We need a name for her, General Yoon said, looking at the plans. Prometheus, Admiral Kim suggested. The Titan who gave fire to humans. Lee smiled. Appropriate.
We're taking the fire of knowledge the aliens thought they controlled.
The meeting was interrupted by an alert.
A Concorde scout ship was approaching the asteroid belt for what they called a routine survey.
All external work teams, inside now, Lee ordered through the emergency channel. Activate camouflage systems.
The asteroid's surface shimmered as holographic projectors created the illusion of normal mining operations. Deep inside, work continued in sections shielded from scans.
Later that month, President Kang visited the project for the first time.
Her shuttle docked at a hidden entrance, and Admiral Kim personally escorted her through the massive construction site.
It's incredible, the president said, staring up at the growing behemoth. Will it actually work?
The theory is sound, Lee explained.
We've successfully tested each system individually. Integration is the challenge now.
They stopped at an observation point overlooking the main hangar bay, large enough to hold dozens of smaller craft. The Concorde ships carry nothing like this, Admiral Kim said. Their vessels are powerful but specialized. This ship can serve as a carrier, battleship, and mobile command center all at once.
President Kang watched workers assembling a section of the bridge. And they suspect nothing?
They see what they expect to see, General Yoon replied. A young species struggling with technologies beyond their understanding.
Their arrogance blinds them. The president nodded slowly. The Concorde representatives mentioned more attacks by this void hegemony yesterday. They're losing ground. Which makes our timeline more critical, Admiral Kim said. If their enemy reaches our system before we're ready. How much longer? President Kang asked. Lee consulted her tablet. 2 more years for full completion. But we could launch earlier if needed.
President Kang stared silently at the massive project for several minutes.
Our ancestors built wonders with stone and simple tools.
Cathedral builders who never lived to see their work completed.
We may be doing the same here.
The difference is, Lee said quietly, we don't have centuries. As the president departed, Lee returned to the engineering bay where her team was installing the main weapons systems.
These weren't simple copies of Concorde technology, they were hybrid designs that combined alien science with human ingenuity.
The shield generators are ready for testing, Technician Beck reported.
Lee nodded. Begin the sequence.
Energy flowed through conduits that spiraled around the ship's frame. Where Concorde designs used linear pathways, humans had created interwoven patterns that reinforced each other. A blue glow surrounded a test section of hull, then stabilized. Shield strength at 125% of Concorde baseline, Beck announced, his voice showing rare excitement. Lee allowed herself a small smile. The Prometheus was taking shape, a secret humanity kept even as alien ships passed overhead, never suspecting what was being built beneath their watchful eyes. The emergency alarm woke engineer Lee Hanna from her brief rest period. She had been sleeping in her quarters inside asteroid B775, having worked 20 hours straight on the Prometheus's main engines.
All senior staff to command immediately, the voice of Admiral Kim echoed through the station. Lee rushed through the corridors where workers moved with newfound urgency. Something had happened.
When she reached the command center, the room was already filled with grim faces. The Void hegemony has broken through the Concorde's Rigel defensive line, Admiral Kim announced as Lee took her place. 3 Concorde battle groups were destroyed. General Yoon displayed the tactical information they had gathered from monitored communications. Their forces are advancing toward our sector faster than anticipated.
How long do we have? Lee asked. Less than 3 months, Admiral Kim replied. The Concorde ambassador has requested an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. The meeting was broadcast to the Olympus team. The Concorde representatives looked uncomfortable as they faced President Kong and the Earth Defense Council. We regret to inform you that our forces must be reallocated, the Concorde ambassador said. The Void hegemony advance requires us to strengthen our core systems. What does that mean for Earth? President Kong asked directly. The ambassador hesitated. We can maintain 2 scout ships in your system. But our battle cruisers must be deployed elsewhere. You're abandoning us, General Yoon said from Earth's side of the table. We are making tactical decisions based on galactic priorities, the ambassador replied stiffly. Category 3 systems are not primary defensive positions. After the meeting ended, President Kong contacted Olympus Base through a secure channel. How ready is the Prometheus? 84% complete, Admiral Kim reported. Main systems are operational, but we haven't finished the secondary weapons arrays or fully tested the shield generators. We're out of time, President Kong said. The Concorde is pulling back. When the hegemony arrives, we'll face them alone. Within hours, the last Concorde battlecruiser departed Earth orbit, leaving only 2 small scout ships behind. The message was clear: Earth was expendable. At Olympus Base, work shifted into continuous operation. Sleep rotations were cut to 4 hours. Engineer Lee moved permanently to the engineering deck of the Prometheus, directing teams as they rushed to complete critical systems. The main reactor isn't properly balanced, Technician Beck warned as power fluctuated through the ship's systems. Bypass safety protocols 3 through 7, Lee ordered. We don't have time for standard procedures. 2 weeks later, long-range sensors detected Void hegemony ships entering the outer solar system. The alien vessels were like nothing humans had seen before, asymmetrical, with surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They're targeting the research stations on Pluto first, Admiral Kim reported during an emergency briefing. The Concorde scouts are retreating rather than engaging. President Kang's holographic image looked tired. How soon can the Prometheus launch? 24 hours, Lee answered. We can fight, but some systems will be running at reduced capacity. The decision was made. Earth's conventional defenses would engage the hegemony forces to buy time while the Prometheus prepared for its first flight. From the hollowed asteroid, Lee watched on monitors as human ships fought bravely against the invaders. The battle near Neptune's orbit was brief and devastating. Earth's conventional weapons barely affected the hegemony vessels. "We're losing the outer system," General Yoon reported. "Jupiter's research colonies are being evacuated, but many ships won't make it." Lee worked frantically, directing final connections to the main power grid. "Reactor stability at 92%. It's not perfect, but it will hold." Admiral Kim made the call: "All personnel not assigned to ship operations, evacuate to Mars bases immediately. Prometheus launch crews to stations." Engineers and technicians who had worked for years on the secret project now rushed to complete final checks. Many systems hadn't been fully tested. Some were still being installed even as the ship prepared to launch. Lee took her position in engineering as the massive doors of the asteroid base began to open. Outside, the blackness of space was occasionally lit by distant explosions as the battle moved inward through the solar system. "All hands secure for launch," Admiral Kim's voice announced throughout the ship. "Prepare to engage main engines." The Prometheus hummed with power as its systems came fully online for the first time. Lee watched the energy readings climb steadily. "Now we see if our gamble pays off," she whispered as the final launch sequence began. The massive engines of the Prometheus flared to life, pushing the enormous vessel out of its hidden asteroid dock. For the first time, the full scale of humanity's secret project was revealed to the solar system. 7 kilometers of armored hull gleamed under the distant sun as the battlestar accelerated toward the inner planets. On the command bridge, Captain Choi Jin stood before the main viewport. He had been training for this moment for 3 years, running countless simulations of a ship that had never flown until now. "Engineering reports all main systems operational," reported Lieutenant Park, the communications officer. "Shield generators at 87% capacity." Captain Choi studied the tactical display. The Void Hegemony forces had already destroyed the research stations around Jupiter and were moving toward Mars. The few remaining Concord scouts observed from a distance but made no move to engage. "Set course to intercept the main Hegemony fleet," Captain Choi ordered. "Launch all fighter squadrons." From the massive hangar bays of the Prometheus, hundreds of small craft poured into space. Unlike conventional Earth fighters, these vessels were built with modified Concorde technology. They moved with impossible speed, their hulls shimmering with protective energy fields. In engineering, Lee Hanna monitored the power systems as the massive engines pushed the battlestar to combat speed. "Reactor output exceeding expected levels," she reported to the bridge. "The modifications are working better than projected." The Hegemony fleet detected the approaching human vessel. Their formation shifted, clearly surprised by the unexpected resistance. The alien ships were dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, their hulls covered with strange growths that served as weapons. "The Concorde scout ships are hailing us," Lieutenant Park announced. "Put them through," Captain Choi replied. The viewscreen showed a Concorde officer, his eyes wide with shock. "Human vessel, what are you doing? You must retreat immediately. These forces are beyond your capability." "We are the Earth battlestar Prometheus," Captain Choi replied calmly. "And we are defending our system." Before the Concorde officer could respond, Captain Choi cut the transmission. "Target the lead Hegemony vessels. Fire main batteries." The weapons systems of the Prometheus came to life. Where Concorde ships used standard energy weapons, humans had developed hybrid technologies. Massive railguns accelerated projectiles to near-light speed, while focused energy beams targeted vulnerable points on the alien vessels. The first volley struck the lead Hegemony ship. Its dark surface rippled under the impact, but held. "They're adapting to our weapons," Tactical Officer Kim noted. "Each hit is less effective." Captain Choi nodded. "Exactly as expected. Implement firing pattern Delta." This was humanity's secret advantage. While studying Concorde technology, Earth scientists had realized that alien warfare followed predictable patterns. Both the Concorde and Hegemony adapted to threats, but slowly and methodically. Humans, however, had evolved to change tactics rapidly. The Prometheus began firing in seemingly random patterns, never using the same weapon configuration twice. Hegemony shields that adapted to one attack were unprepared for the next. In space around the massive battlestar,
Earth fighters engaged smaller hegemony vessels. The human pilots flew with daring and unpredictability that confused the enemy targeting systems. Engineer Lee felt the ship shudder as a hegemony beam weapon struck the forward shields. Shield strength holding at 73%, she reported, making quick adjustments to power distribution.
Rerouting additional energy from secondary systems.
On the tactical display, Captain Choi watched as 3 hegemony vessels broke apart under concentrated fire from the Prometheus.
The remaining alien ships began to pull back, clearly reassessing the unexpected threat.
The Concorde scout ships maintained their distance, observers to a battle they had deemed impossible. Their sensors recorded everything as the impossible unfolded before them.
"The hegemony fleet is retreating," Lieutenant Park announced, disbelief evident in his voice.
"They're withdrawing past Jupiter's orbit." A cheer went up from the bridge crew, quickly silenced by Captain Choi's raised hand.
"Maintain battle stations. This is only the first engagement."
As the immediate threat receded, one of the Concorde scouts approached, requesting permission to dock. Captain Choi granted it, ordering a security team to meet their visitors. The Concorde officer who stepped onto the Prometheus stared at everything with undisguised shock. He was escorted to the bridge, where Captain Choi waited.
"This vessel," the alien began. "It's impossible. Your species couldn't have built this."
"And yet, here we are," Captain Choi replied. The Concorde officer looked around the bridge, noting the hybrid technologies and innovations that his people had never considered.
"The Concorde High Command must be informed immediately," he said. "This changes everything." As the officer was escorted back to his ship, Admiral Kim arrived on the bridge.
He and Captain Choi watched the tactical display showing the retreating hegemony forces.
"They'll be back," Admiral Kim said quietly.
"Yes," Captain Choi agreed.
"But next time, we'll be ready. And perhaps we won't be fighting alone." 3 Concorde battlecruisers emerged from faster-than-light travel near Earth's orbit.
Unlike their previous visits, this time they approached with respect rather than condescension. The ships were escorted by Earth fighters to the newly established space dock where the Prometheus rested after the battle. The Concorde High Command had traveled personally to see what their intelligence reports claimed was impossible. A Category 3 species had not only built a capital ship that matched Concorde technology but had improved upon it.
Admiral Kim Soo-min and Engineer Lee Hanna waited in the main conference room of the Prometheus as the alien delegation boarded. The Concorde High Commander, a tall figure with gray-blue skin, entered with 4 advisors. "Welcome to the Prometheus," Admiral Kim said formally.
The High Commander looked around the room, taking in the design that blended function with distinctly human aesthetics. "Your species has achieved something unprecedented," the commander stated.
"No newly contacted civilization has ever advanced this quickly."
"Perhaps you underestimated what determination can accomplish," Lee replied.
The aliens were given a tour of the Battlestar.
In engineering, Lee explained how humans had modified Concorde power systems. "You reversed the polarity of the neutron flow," said the Concorde chief engineer with surprise.
"Our scientists believed that would cause a catastrophic overload."
"It would in your configuration," Lee explained.
"But we redesigned the containment fields to allow for controlled feedback.
It increases efficiency by 40%. The aliens exchanged glances. This was not simply copying technology, it was innovation beyond their expectations. In the hangar bay, Admiral Kim showed them the fighter squadrons that had proven so effective against the hegemony forces. "Your pilots fly in ways our tactical simulations consider suicidal," the Concorde military advisor noted.
"Humans have always been willing to take risks," Admiral Kim replied.
"Sometimes that's our greatest weakness, but often it's our greatest strength." The tour ended on the observation deck, where Earth hung beautiful and blue in the viewport. President Kong joined them, having traveled from the planet for this historic meeting. "The Void hegemony has withdrawn from 3 other systems since news of your victory spread," the High Commander informed them. They did not expect to find advanced resistance in this sector. "But they will return," President Kong said.
"Yes," the commander agreed.
"Their forces are regrouping.
The next attack will be stronger."
"Then we should discuss terms for a real alliance," President Kong suggested. Not as protector and protected, but as equals.
The Concord representatives seemed uncomfortable with this concept, but recent events had left them little choice.
The hegemony war had stretched their forces thin, and human innovation offered new advantages.
"What are you proposing?" asked the commander.
Joint Fleet Operations, Admiral Kim explained.
The Prometheus is just the beginning. We're already designing the next vessel, the Athena. With Concord resources and human innovation, we could build more. Impossible, the Concord engineering advisor said immediately.
Your system doesn't have the capacity to support multiple ships of this size.
Engineer Lee smiled.
We've developed a new construction method that reduces resource requirements by 60%. We can build 3 more Battlestars within 2 years.
The aliens were silent, processing the implications.
In 5 years, humans had gone from a curiosity to potentially the Concord's most valuable ally.
The High Commander finally spoke. The Concord Council will need to create a new category for your species. Category 3 is clearly inadequate. President Kong nodded. We will send representatives to your council.
But know this, Earth will defend itself, with or without your approval.
We prefer cooperation, but we no longer require protection. The meeting concluded with the first draft of a true alliance treaty. As the Concord delegation prepared to depart, the High Commander approached Lee privately.
How did you do it? He asked quietly.
How did your species advance so quickly? Lee considered the question carefully.
You gave us knowledge, but tried to control how we used it. Humans have always been at their best when challenged. Your condescension was perhaps the greatest motivation. After the Concord ships departed, Admiral Kim and Engineer Lee stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars.
The Athena's construction begins tomorrow, Admiral Kim said.
The Concord has agreed to provide advanced materials.
And will continue improving the designs, Lee added. The Prometheus was built in secret with limited resources. Imagine what we can create now. Below them, Earth continued its peaceful rotation.
Its people now looked to the stars not with wonder or fear, but with confidence. In the face of extinction, humanity had not only survived but had taken its place among the stars as a force that even ancient species now had to respect. The age of humans as mere observers in the galaxy was over.
The age of human innovation had begun. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.